Everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are diving into one of the most powerful algorithms in machine learning, support vector machine or SVM. If you have ever wondered how to separate classes in a dataset, especially when they are not so easy to separate with a straight line, SVM is the tool for you. By the end of this video, you will understand how SVM works, the role of kernels in creating complex boundaries, its advantages, limitations, and where SVM shines in the real world. So let's get started. Before we dive in, let's go over a quick roadmap so you know exactly what we will cover in this video. First, we will start by covering what SVM is, the concepts of hyperplane, margin, and support vectors. Second, we'll see how SVM finds the ideal hyperplane for different types of data and what makes it such an effective classifier. Third, we will then dive into different kernels like linear, polynomial, RBF, and sigmoid and discuss when to use each of them. Fourth, advantages and then limitations of SVM, then real world applications, and finally, we will go through a simple implementation in Python. Alright, now that we know what's ahead, let's get started with the basics. Support vector machine is a supervised machine learning algorithm primarily used for classification tasks, though it can be also used for regression. The main idea is to find a hyperplane that best separates data points of different classes, creating the largest possible margin between them. This margin helps SVM make more accurate prediction for new unseen data. Let's see how SVM works in three simple steps. First, separating hyperplane. In a 2D space, imagine SVM as drawing a straight line or in higher dimension a plane that best divides your classes of data points. This dividing line or hyperplane separates the data point by maximizing the distance between the points of each class that are closest to the hyperplane. Second, support vectors. The points that lie closest to the hyperplane are called support vectors. These points essentially define the margin and help determine the best hyperplane for separation. The idea is that the model's decision boundary relies on only these support vectors, which is why SVM is known for its efficiency with high dimensional data. Third, maximizing the margin. The goal of SVM is to maximize the margin, the distance between the hyperplane and the closest data point from each class. A larger margin means the model has a higher confidence in distinguishing between the classes, which usually leads to better generalization. Understand SVM in action. Let's take a simple example involving shapes. Imagine you are trying to classify shapes like circles and squares. Our goal is to create a boundary that separates circle and square. So for this, first, linear separation. In cases where these shapes are linearly separable, meaning we can draw a straight line to separate red shapes from blue shapes, SVM will find that line. This is the simplest case and is often referred to as a linear SVM. Linear SVMs are effective when your data is relatively simple with a straight line effectively dividing the classes. In this case, all circles are on one side and square on the other. Second, nonlinear separation. What happens if the shapes are mixed up and not so easy to separate with the straight line? For instance, imagine clusters of overlapping circles and square shapes. This is where the concept of kernels comes in, allowing SVM to handle complex cases by mapping data into a higher dimensional space where a clear boundary can be created. Kernels essentially transform our original data to make it easier to separate. Imagine viewing the shapes from a different angle, where circle and square shapes fall neatly into different areas. Let's talk about what kernels do, different types of kernels in SVM, and how they help us tackle nonlinear data. Kernels allow SVM to handle more complex cases by mapping data into higher dimensional spaces where a linear boundary can effectively separate classes. For instance, a set of 2D data points might be transformed into a 3D space. By doing this, the SVM algorithm can find a linear hyperplane in the new, higher dimensional space that effectively separates the classes. First, the linear kernel. The linear kernel is the simplest. It doesn't transform the data but simply draws a straight line or plane to separate the classes. You would use a linear kernel when your data is linearly separable, like in text classification tasks where a simple boundary works well. It's efficient and often the go-to kernel when the data is high dimensional but sparse. Second, polynomial kernel. The polynomial kernel adds polynomial terms to the features, creating curved boundaries that are useful when your data requires a bit more flexibility. For example, if you suspect your features interact in a way that creates curves in the data, a polynomial kernel with a degree of 2 or 3 might work. You can control the complexity of the boundary with the degree parameter. Higher degree leads to more complex boundaries. Third, radial basis function RBF kernel. The RBF or Gaussian kernel is one of the most popular choices. It's perfect for handling data that isn't linearly separable and has a more circular or complex structure. This kernel has a parameter called gamma, which controls how far the influence of a single training example reaches. Smaller gamma values make the model generalize more, while larger values focuses more on individual data points. Fourth, sigmoid kernel. Finally, the sigmoid kernel behaves similarly to the activation function in a neural network. It's not as widely used as RBF or polynomial, but it's an option for specific use cases, especially where the data might have logistic regression type pattern. Now, to summarize, in short, use linear for simple linearly separable data, polynomial for cases with curved boundaries, RBF for complex and non-linear data, and sigmoid for specific cases resembling logistic regression or neural network. Now let's talk about parameter tuning. Each kernel has specific parameters that influence model performance. First is C, known as regularization parameter. It controls the trade-off between maximizing the margin and correctly classifying data points. A smaller C allows for softer margin while a larger C tightens the margin, leading to stricter boundaries. Second, gamma, RBF and polynomial kernel. It controls the influence of individual data points. Smaller gamma values mean broader influence, which can improve generalization, while larger values focuses more narrowly on individual points. Now, let's look at some key advantages of using SVM in machine learning. First, effective for high dimensional spaces. SVM works exceptionally well in high dimensional spaces where there are many features compared to the number of samples. This makes it especially useful for text classification tasks where the data is often high dimensional but sparse. Second, memory efficient. Because SVM only relies on support vectors or the critical data points defining the margin, it uses memory efficiently. This efficiency means it can handle relatively larger data sets without needing a huge memory footprint. Third, versatile with kernels. With different kernels, SVM can handle both linear and non-linear data, giving it flexibility to tackle complex classification problems that other algorithms might struggle with. Limitations of SVM. Of course, SVM isn't perfect. Here are a few limitations to keep in mind. First, computationally intensive. Training an SVM can be slow and computationally expensive, especially with large datasets. Because it involves finding an optimal margin and tuning multiple parameters, SVM aren't always the best choice for massive datasets. Second, sensitive to parameter tuning. SVM requires careful tuning of parameters like C and gamma, especially for non-linear kernels. Choosing the right values can make a huge differences in performance, but it can also be tricky to get right without trial and error. Third, less effective with noisy data. SVMs can be sensitive to noisy data, especially when classes are overlapping. In these cases, it may misclassify points, making it less robust than other algorithms like random forest or gradient boosting. Real world application of SVM. SVM is widely used across many fields. Here are some examples. Image recognition. Separating objects and faces in image datasets. Second, text classification. Spam detection, sentiment analysis, and language classification. Third, bioinformatics. Classifying genes, protein, or disease types. Fourth, finance. Credit risk assessment, fraud detection, and stock risk classification. So these are some its use cases. Now let's look at a quick example of how to use different kernels in Python. We will use a scikit-learn's SVM classifier and experiment with different kernels. So let's open Colab, we will do it together. Okay, so we'll start by importing the dataset and libraries. Run this. Okay, so it's done. Now I am importing my dataset. Here I'm using iris dataset, which is just used for classification. Next, defining X as flower measurement and Y as species, which will be the target. Let's run this. Okay, next, dividing our data set into training and testing part. Keeping test size as 0.3 means testing part as 30% and training as 70. On this. Now train SVM in different kernels, preparing the list of kernels. Run this. Now we will create our SVM model with specified kernels. Iterating over each kernels in our list. C is our regularization parameter, and then giving gamma as scale for RBF. If kernel is equals to RBF, as for rest, keep it as auto. Next, fit this into our model. Next, we will do a prediction. And we will print our accuracy for each kernel. Next, run this. So here you can see different kernels with its accuracy. Here mostly it's giving 1 because it's quite small data set. That's why. In summary, support vector machine is a versatile and powerful algorithm, especially for classification tasks. With the right kernel and parameters, SVM can tackle even the most complex datasets. If you are new to SVM, try experimenting with different kernels and parameter setting to see which works best for your data. It's a process of trial and error, but the results can be highly rewarding. Thanks for joining me today. I hope this gave you a clear understanding of how SVM and its kernel work. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more such data science and machine learning related content. And I will see you in the next video.